Blade Runner 2049 is opening up.
And you can't miss this one.
I'm Roth Cornet.
I'm Andy Signore, filled in for Dan Merle, who will join us for the spoiler review soon.
Very shortly, we will be doing, as soon as it opens, in fact, that weekend, you can look out for a spoiler review. And man, is this one where you're going to want to get into that conversation. Having said that, we will give you absolutely no spoilers here because you should go into this film completely spoiler-free. And I'm going to say it right now. You absolutely should see this film.
Absolutely should see this film. And I think you could probably see the first film too. I liked that I revisited the film because it definitely, the themes are continued from the first film and you want to sort of remind yourself. I mean, it's not a spoiler to know Harrison Ford's in the movie. So you want to sort of maybe have a refresher. It helped me a little bit. But it also made me respect this one actually in a new way. I really was impressed. Denis Villeneuve just completely blew me away and I think hit it out of the park.
He has established himself as one of, if not the director of our time, right? So, I mean, I loved his work going into this movie. Arrival was one of my favorite movies last year. This is a film where Blade Runner is so special to me. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I watched all three versions leading up into Blade Runner 2049 that week before. And when I heard that they were doing a follow-up to Blade Runner initially, I was extremely hesitant, unoptimistic, until I heard that Denis Villeneuve was going to be the director because he felt to me like the perfect one to capture the tone of that first film. And it does. But what's so amazing is that he not only honors what Blade Runner is, and he sort of really captures that world and the feeling of that world, and he addresses the questions that it brings up, but he expands it so beautifully.
Totally agree.
This really feels like its own story, but that is still tonally connected and is still thematically connected, but bigger in a way than Blade Runner, which was a really kind of intimate story.
Yeah, look, I like the original film, but it's not one of my all-time favorites. Like it's a little slow. I feel like the story is a little simple. Like it's actually not. I always thought when I watched younger that I just didn't get it. I think I just didn't like it. And so as I watched it as an adult, I respect it tremendously. I think it's a beautiful film and there are some really amazing themes in it. But I think what they end up doing in this film is they layered even a little bit more. There's more stuff happening in a way. There's more of a story unfolding and you learn more of the universe. And I actually appreciated that. And that made me more into it. Because I think for a lot of people out there who aren't massive fans of the original, I've learned there are several, I think they'll be surprised with this one. This one actually feels like it takes advantage of its future year and gives us more to see and explore. There's a lot more character and emotion that I felt in this movie more than the first one even. And the cinematography, I don't want to go too far about without sort of throwing immense round of applause to Roger Deakins.
Okay.
It's one of the most beautifully shot films, and if he doesn't win the Oscar, we all should riot.
We're just saying this right now. Roger Deakins has been nominated time and time again for Best Cinematography, and he simply has to win. He has to win this year. Not only is it a sort of career win, but this film is stunningly beautiful, as was the first Blade Runner, but it is, again, in its own way, it really creates its own world and reality. The score was also one of the things that I was very impressed with because it harkens back to Blade Runner, but it really
has some
also
hints of Vangelis, but it sort of takes it in a new place.
It does. It really does its own thing, and that's sort of what I feel about the film in general. And there are, I think Blade Runner is a profoundly emotional film. It's like deeply sad in a lot of ways. But this film has different layers to the relationships. And I won't say more than that, but different layers to the relationships and sort of the levels of emotion and the way that people are connected, or replicants or people, or replicants or people. I'm not telling you. But yeah, that's one of the things that I thought I was so impressed with just in the script as well, is that they just elevated it. There's these questions that Blade Runner asked, and they were like, yeah, that's still a question, but here are some more. And they address where we're at today in terms of our technology.
Yeah, and I look forward to your spoiler because you can talk a lot more about it, and I don't want to give anything away, but they do something right away in the movie that sort of I applauded in a way that I think everyone will see as they watch it. They'll go, oh, okay. That unlike the first movie, they just were a little bit more daring and didn't try and tiptoe around things in a certain way in this one. And then they still give you things to uncover in a way that wasn't just like, is Harrison Ford a replicant? Who knows? Like, it's bigger than that in this movie. Much bigger. And so it's like, that's not just this. Yes, you might be able to take some things away from that in this movie, but it's what I admired about it is it could have been so easily that movie of like, let's tease the whole movie. Is he gonna be? It's like, that's not what the movie's about. It's about so much more, and it's such a cool, remarkable thing. And when we got to talk to Denis Villeneuve, which was just wonderful to do after we saw the film, I just was like, this was just a perfect movie for him in a way, because it's, and I even said it's like the most biggest budget art house movie I've ever seen in my life. And it's like, how are you ever going to be able to top this? And he was sort of laughing and smiling. It's like, I know, it's like, but it's just tremendous opportunity for such a visual and talented filmmaker to be able to get the budget to build these sets and these miniatures. And it's Deakins has so much to work with, and the cast, and it's like all the pieces fall together to make this. I mean, you can see the money on the screen. This was not a cheap movie, I imagine, in the slightest. But you see it all, and it's really worth it and amazing and beautiful to watch.
I think even Warner Brothers is calling it that. Yeah. They're calling it a massive budget art house movie, which I hope doesn't turn anybody off, because it shouldn't. I mean, this is a really enjoyable movie to watch. And look, one of the other things that he's known for right now as a director is eliciting amazing performances. And whether it's a small or large moment in the movie, every single performance in this movie is excellent.
I agree.
Harrison Ford is 100% committed.
Totally gives it.
This is him.
He's not checked out.
He is not checked out at all. This is him at his finest. Ryan Gosling is incredible, but there's also two female, I won't say who, but there's two female performances in this movie, aside from Robin Wright, who we already love, that blew me away.
Yeah.
Just blew me away. And I was really surprised, because I've seen the trailers and so forth, at how deep those characters went. I think you guys are going to love this movie. I will say this really quickly so that there are 3 plot issues. There are 3 plot questions in this movie that are relatively significant, and things that I would love to talk to the filmmaker about and sort of address, that you may have questions about coming out of this movie. And there's a couple of other things that we'll be able to talk about in the spoiler review that there may be some questions about coming out of this movie, and sort of not in the way of the thematic way, just kind of like, does that make sense? But at the end of the day,
doesn't matter.
It sort of doesn't matter, because everything else about this film is so beautiful and so special. It's a really unique experience. If you're a film lover, I cannot encourage you enough times to go
support this movie. This is, we've had this discussion a lot with Mother too, of like how it's like it's daring for a studio to do that type of original movie. This is based on a franchise. It's not an original movie per se, but I feel like they kind of did find its own way and made it its own, and really took some daring risks with it and choices that I applaud. And it's like, this is the type of franchise that I'm okay with. All right, if we're gonna do it, let's really do it right and well and artistically and beautifully, and they do it. And it also just makes me very excited for what else we can see from Denis Villeneuve. Like, I'm just sold. I'm like, all right, you got me, dude. Whatever movie you do, go make, I'm first in line.
I was already that way.
No, I was there, but now I'm like, the fact that he could take a tentpole franchise that was so risky and turn it around the way he did was very telling for me.
And you Blade Runner fans will know this. Like, I'm turning it around quick. I was on board. I'm double on board now. Like, this guy is unbelievable. Excellent filmmaker. Go see this movie, and
see it right away. There will be people will try and ruin this and spoil some things, which will be not as fun. But it's still definitely try and see it right away.
See it right away. Come back here. We are going to have a spoiler review up the weekend that it opens, and this is one that we're gonna want to talk. We'll probably that will go long. This is one we're really gonna want to talk about. Thank you for joining us today. Let us know what you think of Blade Runner, spoiler free, in the comments below, and we have lots more Blade Runner coming. Blade Runner 2049.
Check out our interviews.
Oh, check out my interviews. I got to talk to the cast. Click here for more awesome Screen Junkies news, and click the logo to subscribe.